In a single, meticulously executed transfer, Russia has fundamentally rewritten the military equation the United States spent 4 decades constructing across the Middle East. This wasn't a symbolic gesture. This wasn't a handful of missile systems meant to tweak the balance and give everyone time to recalibrate. This was a $900 million integrated offensive and defensive battlefield architecture, one that the Pentagon has now quietly conceded it possesses no reliable means to defeat. $900 million, 27 cargo aircraft, 14 straight days of non-stop airlift operations originating from 3 separate Russian military airfields, all touching down on Iranian soil. It stands as the most substantial weapons transfer between 2 major global powers since the Cold War's end. And the cargo those planes carried has fundamentally altered the risk calculation for every American service member, airmen, sailors, soldiers, operating within 2,000 kilometers of Iran's borders. Let's break down exactly what Iran just received. First, the S-400 Triumph air defense system. 4 complete battalions, 32 launchers, 384 interceptor missiles capable of engaging aerial targets at distances up to 400 kilometers and altitudes reaching 30 kilometers. This is the system NATO has devoted a decade to figuring out how to counter, and one that has never been successfully penetrated under genuine combat conditions. Then there's the Iskander-M tactical ballistic missile system, 24 launchers, 96 missiles, 500-kilometer range, accuracy measured in meters, 5 meters to be precise. Its flight profile is quasi-ballistic, meaning it doesn't follow a predictable arc, and it performs terminal maneuvers that no American defensive system has ever successfully intercepted during operational testing. Next, the Bastion-P coastal defense system, 8 launchers, 64 P-800 Onyx missiles. These are anti-ship weapons that travel at Mach 2.5 while skimming the sea surface, with an engagement envelope that covers the entire Persian Gulf from launch positions inside Iran. And finally, the component that ties everything together and makes each individual system exponentially more lethal, the Nebo-M integrated radar complex. This is a mobile radar array capable of detecting stealth aircraft at ranges exceeding 600 kilometers. It is the system that effectively neutralizes a significant portion of the $1.7 trillion investment in F-35 stealth technology when operating anywhere near Iranian airspace. The Pentagon received confirmation of this delivery 72 hours ago. The response wasn't a press conference. It wasn't a diplomatic protest. It wasn't the usual theater of performative concern that ultimately accomplishes nothing. The response was an emergency classified directive sent to every regional commander. It contained 7 words that tell you everything about what this delivery actually means. Assume all offensive operations are now contested. That sentence, issued by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to every American military installation across the Middle East, represents the most significant admission of vulnerability since the Vietnam War. So let's talk about what this $900 million package actually accomplishes, and why every American military planner who truly understands these systems is privately grappling with a reality they never expected to face. The S-400 creates what strategists call an anti-access area denial bubble, an A2AD zone. Inside 400 kilometers of those launchers, every aircraft operating at every altitude faces engagement by missiles traveling at 12 times the speed of sound. The 40 N6 long-range interceptor can hit targets at the edge of space. The 48 N6 can engage multiple aircraft simultaneously at medium ranges. The 9M96 provides point defense against cruise missiles and precision munitions. Let me translate that into operational terms. An American F-35 approaching Iranian airspace to conduct a strike mission gets detected at 600 kilometers by the Nebo-M radar. The aircraft's stealth characteristics, designed to reduce radar cross-section against older generation systems, provide only limited protection against the Nebo-M's multiband tracking capability. By the time that F-35 reaches weapons release range, roughly 150 kilometers from its target, it has been continuously tracked for 7 full minutes. Interceptor missiles have already been allocated. Launch solutions have already been calculated. The F-35 pilot can attempt evasion, can deploy countermeasures, can execute high-G maneuvers designed to break radar lock. None of these tactics have ever been tested against the S-400 in combat. None have demonstrated effectiveness in exercises against Russian-operated systems. And the S-400 doctrine calls for launching 4 missiles per target to ensure kill probability exceeds 95%. The math is brutally simple. Every aircraft America sends into Iranian airspace now faces a significant probability of not returning. Not a possible probability. A significant probability. The difference between confidence and uncertainty. The difference between dominance and contest. But the S-400 is the defensive component. The Iskander-M is the offensive component, and the Iskander fundamentally changes how Iran can strike American assets. It flies at Mach 6 to Mach 7. It maneuvers during its terminal phase. It carries a 700-kilogram warhead capable of destroying any military installation it hits. And its 500-kilometer range puts every American base in the Gulf within strike envelope from Iranian territory. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, 700 kilometers from Iran, well within range. Al Dhafra Air Base in UAE, 400 kilometers from Iran, within range. Camp Arifjan in Kuwait, 500 kilometers from Iran, within range. Every aircraft, every fuel depot, every command center, every ammunition storage facility at every American installation across the Gulf can now be hit by a weapon that no American defensive system has ever successfully intercepted. The Patriot system currently protecting these bases was designed for a different era. It can engage ballistic missiles following predictable trajectories. It has never demonstrated capability against maneuvering quasi-ballistic weapons traveling at Mach 7. The system might work. The system might not work. Nobody knows, because nobody has ever tested it against this specific threat in combat conditions. That uncertainty is itself a strategic defeat. But the land-based systems, as transformative as they are, aren't even the most dangerous element of what Russia just delivered. Because the Bastion-P coastal defense system changes the naval equation in ways that make the Persian Gulf effectively a no-go zone for American warships. The P-800 Onyx missile travels at Mach 2.5 at sea-skimming altitude with a range of 500 kilometers when launched from coastal positions. The missile can be programmed to approach targets from multiple angles. It can perform evasive maneuvers during terminal flight, and it carries a 300-kilogram warhead designed to penetrate naval armor and detonate inside the ship. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is currently operating in the Arabian Sea. That carrier, carrying 5,000 American sailors and representing $13 billion in construction costs, is now within range of Bastion-P batteries positioned along the Iranian coastline. The Aegis combat system that protects the carrier has never been tested against mass P-800 attacks. Simulations suggest that a salvo of 12 or more Onyx missiles approaching from multiple vectors at Mach 2.5 would saturate the defensive envelope. Some missiles would be intercepted. Not all missiles would be intercepted, and Iran now has 64 P-800 missiles ready to launch. But here's the part that makes this delivery truly strategic, rather than merely tactical. Russia didn't just send the hardware. Russia sent the integration. These systems are now networked. The Nebo-M radar feeds targeting data to both the S-400 and the Iskander simultaneously. The Bastion-P receives maritime surveillance data from Russian satellite networks that Iran now has access to. Every system talks to every other system in real time. An American aircraft approaching from the south triggers Nebo-M detection. The S-400 allocates interceptors. Simultaneously, Iskander batteries receive the detection data and calculate whether the aircraft originated from a base within strike range. If it did, Iskander missiles launch toward that base while the aircraft is still inbound toward Iran. The American pilot is trying to complete a strike mission while his home base is being destroyed. If he survives the S-400 engagement, he returns to a runway that no longer exists. This is integrated warfare. This is systems thinking. This is how Russia fights. And Russia just taught Iran how to do it. Let's talk about what's happening across the American military right now, because the response to this delivery has been immediate and dramatic in ways that tell you exactly how serious this is. CENTCOM has issued what officials describe as operational pause directives for all non-essential missions within S-400 range. Translation: American aircraft have stopped flying toward Iran, not because anyone ordered a formal stand-down, because pilots and commanders are refusing to fly missions with the threat profiles that now exist. This isn't cowardice. This is mathematics. Sending a $100 million aircraft and a trained pilot into an environment where the probability of loss exceeds acceptable thresholds isn't courage. It's waste. And the American military doesn't waste assets on operations that cannot succeed. The carrier strike groups are repositioning again. The Abraham Lincoln, which was operating 400 kilometers from the Strait of Hormuz 96 hours ago, is now 1,200 kilometers away and moving further. The geometry of Bastion-P coverage has made close approach tactically indefensible. You cannot project power if you cannot approach the projection zone. The Persian Gulf, which American carriers have dominated for 40 years, is now contested water. Not theoretically contested, actually contested. The ships are moving because staying is too dangerous. Meanwhile, the diplomatic response has been chaos. The Secretary of State summoned the Russian ambassador within 6 hours of delivery confirmation. The meeting lasted 34 minutes. The Russian ambassador reportedly stated that Russia's military cooperation with sovereign nations is not subject to American approval, and that the weapons are defensive in nature and pose no threat to nations that do not attack Iran. That statement is technically accurate and strategically devastating. The S-400 is defensive. The Bastion-P is defensive. The Iskander can be characterized as defensive if you define it as response capability rather than first strike capability. Russia has framed the delivery as protection for Iran against American aggression. And here's the part that makes the diplomatic situation impossible. Russia isn't wrong. America has been conducting strikes against Iranian assets for years. American sanctions have crushed the Iranian economy. American rhetoric has explicitly threatened regime change. From Iran's perspective and from Russia's perspective, these weapons are exactly what they claim to be: defense against an adversary that has demonstrated hostile intent. America cannot credibly argue that Iran doesn't need defensive weapons when America has been attacking Iranian interests continuously. The moral high ground that underpins diplomatic pressure doesn't exist. Meanwhile, allies are calculating. Saudi Arabia has requested emergency consultations with Washington about the changing regional security environment. Translation: Saudi Arabia is asking whether American security guarantees are still valid when American forces cannot operate freely against Iranian threats. Israel has gone into full strategic reassessment mode. The strike packages against Iranian nuclear facilities that Israeli planners have developed for decades just became significantly more costly. S-400 coverage extends across the approach routes. Losses would be substantial. Success is no longer assured. The UAE has quietly begun reaching out to Iran through back channels. The Emirates has always hedged between American alliance and regional accommodation. With American power projections suddenly questionable, the hedge is shifting toward accommodation. The alliance structure America has built in the Gulf over 40 years is reconsidering its foundations. And the reconsideration is happening because a $900 million weapons delivery just changed what American power can actually accomplish. Let's be honest about the strategic situation America actually faces, because the official narrative is designed to maintain confidence rather than acknowledge reality. For 40 years, American strategy in the Middle East has rested on one fundamental assumption: American military technology is superior to anything adversaries possess. That superiority allows power projection. Power projection allows influence. Influence allows outcomes favorable to American interests. That assumption just died in a cargo hold. The weapons Russia delivered are not inferior to American equivalents. In some cases, they're superior. The S-400 is widely considered more capable than the American Patriot system. The Iskander has characteristics that no American tactical missile matches. The Bastion-P is a naval threat that American defensive systems are not optimized to counter. Russia has spent 20 years watching American military operations, studying tactics, analyzing vulnerabilities, developing systems specifically designed to counter American strengths. And Russia just handed those systems to America's primary regional adversary. Consider what this means for operational planning. Every strike mission against Iran now requires calculating potential aircraft losses, not zero losses, significant losses. The assumption that American air power can operate with impunity no longer holds. Every naval deployment near Iran now requires calculating potential ship losses. Not damaged ships, sunk ships. Thousands of American sailors at the bottom of the Gulf is now a scenario that planners must consider. Every base in the Gulf region now requires calculating potential destruction. Not harassment attacks, complete destruction. Iskander accuracy is measured in meters. A single hit on a fuel depot or ammunition storage creates catastrophic secondary effects. The planning assumptions that have guided American military operations for a generation no longer apply, and no one has figured out what assumptions should replace them. Here's the part that makes this truly dangerous. The Pentagon knows these weapons create strategic paralysis. Russia knows the Pentagon knows. Iran knows both of them know. And the knowledge that American offensive operations have become dramatically more costly changes Iranian behavior. Iran can be more aggressive because Iranian leadership understands that American retaliation is no longer automatic. When retaliation means losing aircraft and pilots, losing ships and sailors, losing bases and soldiers, the calculus changes. The threshold for what Iran can do without triggering response rises significantly. This is deterrence in reverse. America has spent decades deterring Iranian aggression through superior military capability. Russia just gave Iran the capability to deter American response. The leverage has flipped, and the consequences of that flip will play out across every conflict, every negotiation, every crisis in the Middle East for the next decade. So let's be absolutely clear about what has happened and what it means. Russia delivered a $900 million integrated weapons package to Iran. 27 cargo aircraft, 14 days of airlift operations. The largest military transfer between major powers since the Cold War. 4 S-400 battalions now protect Iranian airspace with 384 interceptor missiles. Detection range 600 kilometers. Engagement range 400 kilometers. Every American stealth aircraft is now visible over Iran. 24 Iskander-M launchers threaten every American base in the Gulf with quasi-ballistic missiles that no American defensive system has ever intercepted. Accuracy 5 meters. Warhead 700 kilograms. 8 Bastion-P launchers hold American warships at risk with 64 P-800 Onyx missiles, Mach 2.5 velocity, sea-skimming approach, saturation capability that exceeds Aegis defensive capacity, and the Nebo-M radar complex networks everything together. Detection of American aircraft feeds targeting data to both defensive and offensive systems simultaneously. The kill chain is integrated. The response is automatic. American aircraft have stopped flying toward Iran. Carriers have retreated 1,200 kilometers from previous operating positions. CENTCOM has issued operational pause directives. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs told regional commanders to assume all offensive operations are now contested. Allies are recalculating. Saudi Arabia is asking uncomfortable questions. Israel is reassessing strike options. The UAE is opening back channels to Iran. The alliance structure is wobbling. And in Moscow, Vladimir Putin is watching the American response and understanding that the investment was worth every ruble. $900 million to neutralize 40 years of American regional dominance. $900 million to shift the strategic balance. $900 million to demonstrate that American military superiority has limits that Russia can exploit. The weapons are delivered. The systems are operational. The integration is complete. America has no defense against what Iran now possesses. Not theoretically no defense. Actually no defense. The systems that could counter these weapons don't exist. The development programs that might produce them won't deliver for years, and the threat exists now. The military balance of the Middle East didn't shift gradually. It shifted in 27 cargo flights. It shifted in $900 million of Russian hardware. It shifted because Russia decided that American power in the region had lasted long enough. Pay attention, because the era of unchallenged American military dominance in the Middle East ended when those aircraft landed. What comes next is a competition America hasn't faced since the Cold War, and nobody knows how to win it.